I, William Wyatt of Salem, coaster, testify and say that last Monday evening, being the 5th day of March current, I was in Boston down Treat's Wharf, where my vessel was lying, and hearing the bells ring, supposed there was a fire in town. Whereupon I hastened to the townhouse on the south side of it, where I saw an officer of an army lead out of the guardhouse there 7 or 8 soldiers of the army, and lead them down in seeming haste to the custom house on the north side of King Street, where I followed them. And when the officer had gotten there with the men, he bid them face about. I stood just below on the left wing, and said officer and the said officer ordered the men to load, where they did accordingly with utmost dispatch. They remained there for about 6 minutes, where their firelocks rested and bayonets fixed, but not standing in exact order. I observed a considerable number of young ladies, and here and there a man amongst them, about the middle of the street, facing the soldiers, but not within 10 or 12 feet distance from them. I observed some of them had sticks in their hands, laughing, shouting, huzzahing, and crying fire, but could not observe that any of them threw anything at the soldiers, or threatened any of them. Then the said soldier retired from before the soldiers, and stepping behind them, threatened any of them. Then he said to the officer retired from them, the soldiers, and stepping behind them towards the right wing, bid the soldiers fire. They not firing, he presently again bid fire against them. Not yet firing, he stamped and said, "Fire, be the consequence what it will." Then the second man on the left wing fired off his gun. Then, after a very short pause, they fired another shot as quickly as possible, beginning on the right wing. And the people being withdrawn from before the soldiers, most of them further down the street, he turned his gun towards them and fired upon them. Immediately after the principal firing, I saw 3 of the people fall down the street. Presently, after the last gun had fired off, the said officer, who commanded the soldiers to fire, sprung before them. Waving his sword and stick, he said, "Ye rascals, what did ye fire for?" and struck upon the gun of one of the soldiers, who was loading again. Whereupon they seemed confounded, and fired no more. I then went behind them to the right wing, where one of the people was lying, to see whether he was dead. Where there were 4 or 5 people about him, one of them saying he was dead. And I remember, as the said officer was going down with the soldiers towards the custom house, a gentleman spoke to him and said, "Captain Preston, for God's sake, keep your men in order, and mind what you are about. And further I say not."